Listening to this podcast right now! Do you want to hear a fucking podcast about anything and everything? Yeah. Like movies, music, television, and more?
Oh my god.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Yes.
Subscribe to Journey into Comics Network, and you get Podcastrophe, hosted by me,
Yes.
Dick. Why not throw a couple bucks to the Patreon? It's your choice. Yeah. This is a Podcastrophe.
That sounds so awesome.
The following
is
a
Journey into Comics.
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 Network.
production. Welcome back, everyone, to a sleepy episode of Adulting Ain't Easy. Sometimes in life, adulting just gets really hard, and the case came true with this episode, which life got kind of ahead of us, and we didn't realize about scheduling until very last minute, so this is a very late recording of Adulting Easy, and we're actually recording from bed because we're very tired, and Liz is also very tired. Liz is got her hair up because she just got out of the shower and she's just laying in bed comfortably, and she could fall asleep on this podcast. We really don't know.
If I start making noises, I apologize. Because apparently I do that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week, and what we kind of want to talk about today is traveling, because everyone does it and you do it a lot more as an adult. I've traveled a lot more in my current job than I've had probably for fun. I've probably traveled more for work. Work. But yeah, so Liz and I recently went out east for my cousin's wedding. So we flew out to Baltimore, Maryland.
Go Baltimore.
Yeah, and we actually had to go, we probably had, the flight out there was probably the best flight we've had.
I would totally agree with that I've ever been on. I mean, I've been flying since I think my parents put me on a plane at 3 months old. So
definitely a nice smooth trip, and that's one thing that, it was one of those things, we had seats in the back of the plane, last row, so right next to the bathroom, which some people don't like. I didn't mind it so much. So it was one of those ones where
no one pooped, so that was good.
Yeah, we're going to Maryland, so it was an hour and 2-hour flight.
I think it was an hour, closer to an hour and a half.
Right, so
it was probably 2 hours all said and done, but it was an hour and a half in the air, I think.
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad. We actually, since we were back at the plane, by the time we actually got out off the plane and got to baggage claim, our bag was there, so we didn't have to wait for that. So it was basically door to door to door. So we got there, got right on our shuttle for the rental car, picked up our car, and then we're off our way to have our little fun day in Baltimore with all the sightseeing that went into that. And what was some of the stuff that we saw in Baltimore that day?
Well, we tried to see all the Edgar Allan Poe stuff, but the problem with that is that there are still lots of sketchy areas in Baltimore. And originally, I had been told by a coworker who had done the Baltimore, the DC kind of area, and she was like, "Don't stop at Edgar Allan Poe's house." I'm like, "Oh, well, why the hell not?" And she said it's a super bad area. Literally, her family got out of this car, and then there were some kind of hoodlums hanging around and made her uncomfortable. And I was like, once we actually got there, it kind of definitely saw why. I was a little nervous about driving around there, but it was still cool to see. It would have been nice to go in, but I was uncomfortable leaving the car because, if we would have left and came back, we probably wouldn't have had any of our tires.
I don't think it was quite that bad. It was Edgar Allan Poe house was a row house from a long time ago, and since then the whole neighborhood's kind of gone downhill, and it's also in the process of being, was it gentrification? Is that what they call it? So they're building a lot of so the road going to it was under construction and all that, and it was just. We kind of drove past it, did a drive-by, and then swung around and got back on the main stretch, and then...
I always think of, the Rent situation. If you've ever seen the musical Rent, how, they're trying to to make this really nice and modern complexes for like apartments and condos in an area that's very low income and things like that. I always think of Rent. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
I've never seen Rent, so I would not know. I know that's a movie that we still need to watch.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I know most of the songs from it because I was a show choir kid in high school, so it happens. But so we did like basically all of our Edgar Allan Poe stuff didn't really work out. The house was kind of a bust. There was like, oh, let's go to the grave, and then the grave was literally it's fenced in it was at a church on their grounds, but it's behind a fence. You're like you can basically just see it from the road. You're like, oh, there it is, and I can't get any closer.
Well, I mean, I guess the church kind of fit Edgar Allan Poe, kind of like his essence, because it was a really creepy church, and it was very small, and the graveyard was very small, and like, it definitely made sense why he was there. It just kind of stunk that we couldn't actually go in.
Right, we couldn't like see if there was any like whiskey bottles or rose left behind because the whole the guy on his anniversary of his death always puts I think it's whiskey. I mean, it's not whiskey. Maybe it's brandy? I don't know. Either way, he puts a bit of liquor out there and leaves like a rose. But apparently that stopped on like the 100th anniversary of his. I can't remember what the anniversary was, but still pretty neat. And then we also tried to. Let's go to the library where a bunch of his old stuff is stored. But that library is being renovated, so all the stuff was not there. So
we saw it through a window from an office.
Some of the stuff, and it was.
You literally could barely see it.
Yeah, but like the whole
adventure.
Yeah, basically that whole library that we went into was this gutted, and there was just a bunch of wood and construction-only access doors, and it was kind of a mess. So we got out of there and kind of went on our way. I think the most fun we had in Baltimore was actually going. There was a strip of bars near the. Well, there was the drinking side and there was the historical side, but the drinking side was pretty neat. That we. Right near the Inner Harbor, there's a place called Fells Point, which has a lot of neat bars. And we went there originally because we went to the bar where supposedly Edgar Allan Poe had his last drink, which was called The Horse You Rode In On, right?
Mm-hmm. The Horse You Rode In On, yeah.
And so we went in there, and like where we were trying to find parking and stuff, there's like a bar or a bar and grill type place like every other door. So it was pretty neat, that whole thing. It was like a cobblestone road, so we parked and went in there, had a drink, had an interesting conversation with the bartender, and got to learn all about what's been going on. And it was a neat little thing. And
yeah, I had a good time.
He kept having issues with the tap for whatever beer he was serving that I had. Cause we were trying to on this trip. We were trying to drink a lot of the local brews because stuff that we can't get in the Midwest. So we tried couple stuff that like maybe not our cup of tea, just that they had available.
Yeah. What was the one that you had? It was some IPA.
Some IPA that I was like, I didn't really want, but he went through so much trouble to get it for me. I felt like obligated to have like another one. But he kept refilling it because it's like, oh, the head's all messed up. I gotta go change it and I'll be. So it kept like topping it off. So I had like 2 beers, or like 2.5 beers for the price of one. And I'm like, I don't want any more beer now. And so that was, I think I borrowed. I think if we would have done it differently, we probably would have spent more time down there.
Yeah.
But what we did,
agree.
What we ended up doing before that, earlier in the day, we ended up going to Fort McHenry, which is in Baltimore. It's right off the harbor, and it was during the War of 1812. It was the big battle, and it's the origin of where Francis Scott Key saw the battle, and that's where he wrote the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem.
And that's where the actual Star Spangled Banner was actually like flown.
Yeah, so like, and we all like, and so like we stood on the ramparts, like the ramparts we watched. We were on those ramparts for part of it, and the place is still in really good shape. As soon as the National Park Service took it over, they changed it up because I guess it was used in a lot of military ways since the War of 1812. It wasn't just kept as a museum piece. It didn't become a museum piece until the early 1900s, and then it was turned back into something for World War II, and then back, and now they've kind of tried to restore it back to its 1812 luster, and it's really cool. I guess on like really nice days, they actually flow a scale version of the flag that was flown, and we actually also saw. We'll kind of get into that later, but we actually did see the flag that was flown there also. So we kind of got to complete that whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because the original flag is stored at the Museum of Natural...
Museum of American Smithsonian's National Museum of American History.
In D.C., because we also did D.C. on this trip. But that was kind of how we did that, and then we did the bars, and that was like how we wrapped up Baltimore, so we had to get back to more...
Frederick? Or Maryland.
Which I think the non-downtown of Frederick is kind of like the Midwest. It doesn't...
Oh, yeah.
A hillier version of the Midwest. Like, same kind of people, same...
It's like small town USA. You're like,
yeah.
Oh, there's a big, I don't know, like department / whatever you want to call Walmart.
Yeah.
Basically say like, oh, there's the huge Walmart.
Yep, and
then
there's
it's like, oh,
hotels
here's
and car dealerships. And
yeah, here's the gas station. Oh, here's the one liquor store in the next like 3 square miles, so you better get your liquor now.
Because in Maryland, you can't buy... They don't sell liquor in grocery stores, so... Or they don't sell things that... Maybe they don't sell liquor, and then you can get beer at certain liquor stores and everything else at other ones. So it's kind of a mess over there, so...
Thank God we live in Illinois.
Yeah.
We can get beer and wine and liquor anywhere.
At Jewel.
Yeah, and at 6 in the morning, which I found out one time.
Woo! Yeah, so...
I'm not an alcoholic, I promise.
It's just planning. Adulting.
Yeah.
But like, we got to actually see some nice stuff, because after we had an authentic crab feast for the roast dinner for my cousin's wedding, which was pretty cool. We got to have some of their famous blue crab.
Mm-hmm. It was spicy and Old Bay. Blah.
And actually had a local brewery there that I've liked called Flying Dog. Actually has a beer that they make that has Old Bay in it. That they brew specifically that you have that beer while having the crab. So I was like, oh, I have to do that. So I did it. It actually works, but I would never want to have that beer any other time. It's like, I think it's even like called like Old Bay or something, or Old something. Yeah, I don't know what actually it was called, but had that. We also found another beer that's basically like, I feel like it's their Natty Light.
Yeah, like Natty Light, Coors Light type, or Busch Light.
It's their regional domestic beer essentially, and it's called National Bohemian, or they call it Natty Bo. And I actually learned that it's pretty closely related to... It's made by Pabst Brewing Company, so that kind of gives you where it came from.
PBR, oh yeah.
It's actually... wasn't bad. Like, we had that without knowing any of the origins. Like, we just tried it at one of the restaurants we were at in Baltimore, and I actually liked it, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the one of the waitress, when I ordered a Natty Bo, kind of laughed at me, because I had no clue.
We thought it was like a craft, like a nice.
Oh, craft beer, great! No.
It's basically like it was like basically going to a nice restaurant and ordering like a Busch Light.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was good, and it's a little like winking man. It kind of looks like the Pringles dude on there.
Yeah, he does, except without the mustache.
No, he had a mustache, I think.
No.
Didn't have a mustache. Oh well. But either way, so that was kind of interesting, and that was a big thing that like those Maryland people kept talking about was the Natty Bo, and
we thought we were really cool. We're like, yeah, Natty or Natural Bohemian.
National Bohemian.
Or National Bohemian. We're like, yeah, this is a cool new beer, and now it's like, no, this is what everybody drinks.
Yeah, so like, oh, damn. Well, that's probably why it tastes, because it's a very decent beer. Like, it doesn't.
It's like having a Miller Lite.
It's basically that's East Coast Miller Lite.
Yeah.
So we did that and had like little crap. So there was like corn and shrimp and all that, all really good stuff. And the weather.
It was a lot of work. Crab feasts are a lot of work.
Yeah, for a lot of work for very little meat. Like, I'd much rather have peel the shrimp, because at least you're getting a good chunk of meat out of it. It was still good, and you got to put like the sauces and stuff on it. And yeah, I enjoyed it, but yeah, definitely like I had 3 crabs and not a lot of meat. I probably had more meat in like 2 shrimp. Well, not really, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of work. You really got to work it. It's much better to just have the crab legs, because the crab body doesn't have a whole lot of meat in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I only ate maybe 1 crab. I gave up. It was a lot of work, and I was getting too messy.
And that corn on the cob is just like all that Old Bay was just like, oh my god, it's so spicy.
I did not like that.
It was good. Like
Old Bay is not. I'm like that East Coast tradition. You can keep it East Coast.
All the Old Bay on everything.
I don't want it. I like my. I don't even know what I would compare Old Bay to with Chicago. Like nothing. Nothing.
Green relish. No, I have no idea.
No, green relish is so much Piccadilly or Piccadilly or whatever the hell it's called. The relish. That's so much better.
I don't
than
like
Old
sweet relish,
Bay.
but either way, yeah, it's a little overdone on the spice.
I do not like it.
But like one thing that we really lucked out to is the weather kind of cooperated.
I would not agree with that at all.
It cooperated for the big stuff.
For the important things that we are meant to be there for, yes.
Like it didn't rain. Like the roast dinner was like it was actually at an older actor's house. He put it up on the Airbnb, and then like my cousin's in-laws now rented up and then like hired a caterer to do this crab feast. So like we were in like the house of a guy who was in, I think it was in. Do you remember the movies? The French Connection. He's done a couple other odds and ends.
I've never heard of Italian,
older Italian actor. Did a lot of old movies. Like kind of cool. Like we went through his house. Like in the basement, he has like his old actor chairs, and he has his movie collection, which I dug into because I'm that person, and he had no organization whatsoever. Just kind of like put them on the shelf, and I was like, I just want to sit here and organize these. And he has like his for your consideration from the award shows and stuff from the Tonys and all that stuff that he's done. And his wife was big into horse raising, like not horse racing.
She just really liked horses. We think
so. It was like it was on like a horse farm. So like, there was horses out back, and there was horse stuff. And she also did stuff for the White House during the Reagan administration. So I had like pictures with Reagan and stuff. It was an interesting little. It's kind of weird to be in someone's house like that, but I guess that's the joys of Airbnb.
Yeah, it was also kind of out of place because the decor of the house definitely made you feel like you were in like the Dakotas or like the Southwest. It was very feel like you were in the East Coast.
But it was, but the house did fit the
outside did.
The outside and inside. It was very much a big log cabin, and it probably in the winter when there's snow on the ground, it probably looks beautiful. Because like it was literally like made of like big wood, like it looked like a log cabin, like a very nice log cabin. And like we were able to have it started pouring down rain towards the end of it, and luckily it didn't rain like we were going up to it, and it died down some while we were leaving. We kind of looked out, and then like Saturday we went to the downtown Frederick area, which is really nice. Not a lot of cool little shops, and the restaurants
I liked the Curiosity shop because I got to go. It was like a very weird like tattoo, but Slash had like a bunch of weird shit there, which was cool.
Like you could, and like some of the stuff for
like giraffe head, like that.
Basically, shoulders up.
Yeah, like a taxidermy giraffe head in the window.
Shoulders up, like they were asking like what $1,200 for it.
No. It was like $3,000 for that.
And a lot of the stuff had price tags on it, which was really interesting. Like they had like two-headed goat head and
the steampunk two-headed goat.
Yeah,
which like had like it was like a mannequin body with a two-headed goat head on it.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Steampunk dress. I wanted to take a picture with it, but Andrew didn't let me.
I'm sorry. Well, it's also because we're in a touch where like people are like trying to get stuff done. It was interesting. They also had like little someone like taking these little like bees and stuff and like it glued on.
It was very like not even. It was very steampunk, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it was like taking like nature and then adding like just that weird element of like fantasy and just steampunk. Like literally, I can't even. Could not even describe it to you other than just steampunk.
Yeah, there's a lot of steampunk stuff and like the bird wing art stuff and with like German hair, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was literally like human hair that was like in a shadow box. It was very odd.
Like I didn't know what to think of that. It was like what it was weird, but it was an experience. And
it wasn't all like that. I mean, there were other things that we saw.
There were like
typical like gift shops that you go in. And
yeah, they had little knick-knacky things. I think the weirdest thing I saw there, though, I think was probably the one-headed pig baby in a jar.
Oh, the pig fetus?
Yeah, the one-eyed pig fetus.
Oh, the one-eyed. You said one-headed. I'm like, well,
sorry.
Pigs have one head.
Yeah. So, but we kind of did that. We kind of walked around. It was a nice little boardwalk, and it was like Labor Day, so there's a bunch of stuff. Not Labor Day. It was the 1st of September. So there's kind of some fun stuff around there. we went to like a nice rooftop bar for lunch, and
I tried oysters on the half shell.
And Liz,
I didn't throw up. I was very surprised.
yeah, didn't hate it.
It was just okay. I don't know. I don't like slimy stuff. But it was fine for what it was.
Yeah, and then we kind of had to get cleaned up because my cousin's wedding was later that day, and it was hot. It was on a mountain.
Was it Mount Sugarloaf Mountain?
Sugarloaf Mountain.
Because
No, it was or was it Sugarloaf Manor?
No, it was Sugarloaf Manor on the Strong Mansion.
Yeah, Strong Mansion. So it's not beautiful mansion on the mountain, but it was like hot and humid. Hello, sorry. Our cat decided that now is the time to be known and is to sit right in front of the microphone. But yeah, that was kind of interesting that we got to. It was mine, but it was beautiful, but it was hot and humid, and I was in a light colored shirt and I started sweating because it was hot. But
I told you to wear something darker, but did you do it?
Well, I was thinking light colors was going to keep me a little breezier, but yeah, it didn't help. But it didn't matter. Everyone else was hot and sweaty, so. And luckily, after the wedding, which was beautiful and all that, but I'm not really going to go into all that detail. But luckily, after that, once we were in the tent, because it was an outdoor wedding and an outdoor reception under like a big tent on a patio, the storm decided to roll in and just dumped so much rain in such a short time that I had to kind of get into action to help close up the tent, and I ended up getting soaked with water anyway, so it all worked out. Mm-hmm. And it was nice. It was interesting mix of family and people I had no idea who they were, and
you got to meet the other cousins that she has.
I did. I got to meet her dad's nieces and nephews that I have never met before, because why would I? So it was actually nice to get to meet them a little bit, but music was fine. Everything else kind of about the wedding was fine. It was since we're kind of in the midst of doing our own wedding stuff, it was a lot to take note of. Like, oh, well, I liked this, I don't like this, I would have done this differently, I would have really done with a different DJ, or the food was fine but not great, and all that. So just all the stuff we were just taking note of, and so, yeah, it was a nice little ceremony. I don't know if you have anything really else to say on it.
I mean, it was nice. It just kind of stunk that it was thunderstorm.
Yeah, we've never been in a wedding in a thunderstorm before, so that was kind of interesting. And luckily, there was no.
And I was on my best behavior.
You were there was nothing. No water really came in. They wouldn't have to evacuate, because that would have been a mess in itself to try and get people down the hill to their cars and then get down a mountain. So yeah, we would have been stuck. We would have probably gone inside the house and then waited it out, probably, if it got bad.
Yeah, the only thing that was kind of disappointing, and I don't know if it was really under their control at all, but that it ended at literally the DJ went to get the bride and groom, and he was like, "All right, it's over.
Last song."
We're like, "What?"
It's 10 p.m.
It's 10 o'clock. And then they just kind of said, "All right, bye."
Yeah, I don't know if
okay, I guess we're going now.
I don't know if it was the rule of the mansion or rule of the mountain. Maybe you can't be on the mountain after a certain time. I don't know. It was probably because I feel like most weddings wrap up around midnight, give or take. Mm-hmm. Or that's when people start clearing out. And we had people leave before that. I know a lot of it weather, older people. My grandma, who's in her 90s, she was ready to go.
Mm-hmm. By 9 o'clock. By once it was the first, because we didn't actually, I don't think dinner actually ended until 8:30 or so.
No, I think it ended closer to 8. But still, the food was fine. They had prime rib and stuff, and it was fine, but it wasn't anything to write home about. It's kind of how we left it. It wasn't bad, it was just nothing special.
Although I did like the Italian ice station.
That was a nice little touch, especially nice because it was hot. They had a little stand, looked like one of those little beachside stands, had the umbrella and everything, and they were serving different flavors of Italian ice, and they just had it going the rest of the night, so you can go over there and get that. And
oh yeah, and I was the first one over there because I was I'm not really much of a dancing type person at weddings. I like to observe.
Much
so
to
I
my.
I was like, yay, Italian ice! I'm going over there and getting some right now. And Andrew's like, well, wait, what about trying to find a song to dance to?
Yeah,
nope, bye.
Yeah, I went short of begging Liz to dance to some of these songs.
I danced to maybe a song and a half.
Song and a half. And the one song that she would have danced to, I was not there for.
Yeah, because you had to poop or something.
No, I just was inside dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not my fault that I wanted to dance to like 10 other songs that night. That Liz was like, no, I don't want to dance to this song.
Well,
I don't want to dance to that song.
I'm sorry. It was not... none of them, like, had... I feel like there has to be some sort of motivating song before a certain song... Like, certain songs that I have to, like, listen to before I would, like, get into it. Like, boy band songs. Like, there's no way, like, out of the blue if, like, I heard, like, Bye 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 or something by NSYNC. Like, there's no way I would just, like, pop up and be like, oh, yeah, this is my jam. Like, no.
No, well, I didn't want to dance to that. Like, but there was other songs.
Like what? Name one.
Cha-Cha Slide.
I don't like the Cha-Cha Slide. No.
But, like, there was...
That was the only line dancing song. If they would have done the Cupid Shuffle, that's more modern. Like, Cha-Cha Slide is like, I'm so done with it.
Liz just is a little particular when it comes to dancing music.
I just can't dance. I'm a shoulder dancer, and that's so embarrassing.
Well, I told Liz she doesn't have no excuse. She has to dance the whole time at her wedding.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand there.
I'm gonna dance around you.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'll just drink a lot. It'll be fine.
No, you can't be too drunk.
I do what I want.
Alright.
No, but...
Whatever.
Yeah, so... But it was fine, and then Sunday we got to spend the whole day in D.C. We didn't have to worry about...
Which was also freaking hot.
Oh yeah, it was awful. Like, it was hot, it was packed, there was a lot of different people, a lot of different languages to kind of deal with, but we managed to see...
That makes you sound really insensitive. There's a lot of people in a lot of languages.
Well, like it wasn't bad. Like, it was just... But there's a lot of different languages I heard in one day. Mm-hmm. Like, it was fine, but it was just like a lot... Like,
very diverse.
It was a very diverse
definitely
set of tourists.
Definitely more diverse than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be a lot of, like, a lot of families that are, like, American families. Like, oh, we're going to go and, like, visit our national capital. Well, not exactly. I feel like there were a lot of people from different countries that decided to come as well.
Right.
Which, I guess it makes sense. Like, if you're going to be coming from a foreign country to visit America, why not go to D.C.? But,
right.
I mean, there's other places I would probably want to go that are a little more exciting. But, I mean, D.C. was fun, and it's good. I feel like every true-blooded American should go there and see the sights. And
yeah, I think that...
I would like to go back. I did not think I would be saying. I thought I would be like my father and be like, alright, I saw what I needed to see, and now I'm gonna go. Yeah. Now I don't have to come back ever again.
We just gotta go wait in line for the Natural History Museum.
Oh my god, no. That was such a long line, and I'm not... For my first time being in D.C., I did not want to sit in line and wait. As much as I would have loved to see the Hope Diamond and all the fancy stuff that they have at the Natural History Museum and Air and Space and whatever, those freaking lines were just so long, and I did not want to miss out on other things because I wanted to go see a couple exhibits.
Really, we should just go to the Field Museum if we really want to see stuff like that.
True.
But
the Field Museum is just lovely.
Yes, in Chicago, which, if you're not from around there, definitely check it out next time you're in the area. Definitely worth seeing at least once. But yes, so we went to the much shorter line that was also just as exciting, which was the line for the American History Museum. Or Museum of American History.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. We got to see a ton of different stuff.
Yeah.
I really liked... I think it's a newer exhibit where they had all the first ladies, like, dresses... Like, different ones. I think it was mostly, like, their inauguration night. And they had all the pretty dresses. And it was cool.
And they... Yeah, I found that pretty neat. And I also liked their... They had the one about, like, the voting and election. So they had a bunch of campaign stuff and all the stuff for voting and things that people had. So there's signs and buttons and flyers and stuff.
Some of them were very weird. Like, there was, like, that... I feel like there were, like, maybe, like, stuffed people dolls of certain people. And it was very creepy. Like, I think there was one that was, like, Teddy Roosevelt's was really weird. And I was just like, I would...
Oh, there was the cigar and... Mm-hmm. But, like, and it's updated rate. Like, they had stuff from the 2016 election with Clinton and Trump. So, they definitely keep that stuff updated. Like, the same thing with the First Lady thing. Like, Melania Trump's... her inauguration dress was on display there. And they had... videos of them dancing and her wearing it and stuff like that. So definitely interesting to see how quick the Smithsonian is able to update with recent changes in the world or with the U.S. politics.
The only thing that I was kind of sad that we didn't get to see, but I guess it makes sense, is that they're still working on their entertainment section of the American History Museum, because what was it, a couple years ago that you donated in your mom's name to the restoration of the ruby slippers from Wizard of Oz? Because Andrew's mom is like obsessed. Yeah, she's
a big fan of the Wizard of Oz and everything. And yeah, I saw they were doing was it a GoFundMe? I think it was a GoFundMe so you could donate like X amount of dollars and they'll you can get some stuff, and like if you donate like a ton of money you get like your name on the exhibit once it was completed. But like I had to see but now since I've done it, I get a lot of emails and stuff about how the restoration work is going, and so it's kind of neat to see how much they're learning about these ruby slippers that they do deep analysis on. But while they're
also say that they found a second pair of ruby slippers.
Yeah, that was recent news in the last couple weeks. So there was another museum somewhere around the Midwest, actually. I think maybe could even been in Kansas. I don't know. But there was a museum that had a set of ruby slippers on display that were like on loan from someone who bought them years ago. Someone who paid a lot of money, and they got stolen and then have been disappeared for the last like 13 years. Then they just turned up by the FBI, and the FBI took them to the people at the Smithsonian, since they've been working on those shoes for all this time and know every little detail just to make sure they're not fake. And actually, they learned some interesting stuff about them. They actually learned that the pair of ruby slippers that are at the Smithsonian now are not two of the same shoe. Like, you wouldn't wear those two shoes together. They're two ruby slippers that were used in the film, but they're not matching pairs. But they found those two shoes that they found from the other museum thing are the matching pairs. Like, if you broke those up and switched them, those would be the matching sets. Like, I think they said like they're like 2C and 2BA or something, or whatever, however their numbering system was. But they had one left and one right of two different sets of shoes that were used in the film. So now they do have two matching sets, which is kind of interesting. I'd never noticed that before. But that was a neat little part of that exhibit, and it was nice that we were inside, got to see a lot of stuff, and enjoyed the air conditioning.
That was the only place that had, well, besides all the restaurants we went into, but...
And the gift shops at the monuments. The gift shops and the bathrooms. Also learned that I didn't really know this, is that every monument has kind of an inner exhibit that has, like, stuff about the exhibit and random articles like...
the monument, you mean?
Yeah, the monument. They have, like, little, like, in the Lincoln Memorial, and it's all usually right by the bathroom, because I think all these exhibits at one point had to like redo their bathrooms because they didn't plan for the amount of people coming to them. So usually in the basements or in the weird side room of the monument, there's the bathrooms, and then there's like a miniature exhibit which has like stuff about how they made it, pictures. So they talk about like the Lincoln Memorial. Once you're in the base there, you can see kind of how the sculptor used like Lincoln's life mask and death mask and pictures and stuff to kind of sculpt the head, and what they used for the rest of the memorial, and how they had a bunch of different designs they wanted to use to kind of cap off between DC and the Potomac and all that. And then same thing like the Jefferson Memorial and all that. So that was probably pretty neat to see, because I didn't realize that at the time, because I've only been to DC 2 other times, and when we did that, we didn't really do a ton of extra saying. We tried to see a lot in the time, and I really didn't remember it. So yeah, I feel like I'm just rambling, but it was a neat little thing. I think probably the best part of our DC trip was, even though I was very stressed getting to that point, was probably our night tour that we did.
Yes, the Capitol. What did they call it? Was it DC on Foot? The
Capitol Hill Ghost Tour.
Capitol Hill Ghost Tour.
So we actually met on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol, like in the back. I never really was that close to it. Like in any trip I've ever been to DC, I've never been that close to the Capitol, and I've only been. This was my 3rd time in like 15 years. So, but we actually were on the grounds right there, and we had this tour, and we got to go pretty close to it, and actually close enough that you could see like the armed guards. like a
Because
security.
they've got quite a few security. Well, don't they call them like Capitol Police? And then
They're
have,
Capitol Police, yeah.
Like, and they're literally police that are specific to the Capitol building. And I think they had the same thing for like the Library of Congress, that they're just for the Library of Congress. And same. I don't know about the Supreme Court building. They didn't say.
Yeah, there's Capitol Police, and then there's the DC Metro. So like Capitol Police are strictly Capitol Hill related. Like, they're on the grounds near the White House. They're like the guy we saw when we were right in front of the White House, who had the AK-47, the bulletproof vest, and would shoot anyone if you crossed this barrier.
Yeah, that freaked me out. I did not like that. That was probably the part of DC that I did not like, was that the fact that these guards were carrying around these huge guns that I've never seen in person before in my life.
But
that freaked me out. But I understand.
Right.
We live in a different age, and it's
and
more necessary.
It's like when we were talking to, was it your grandparents?
Mm-hmm.
How they were in DC, they could walk.
They literally they had daily tours at the White House. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to go through hoops and
you could just walk up to it.
And and then the president would just walk out randomly and say hello. Like, my grandparents got to meet JFK because they happened to be on a tour of the White House, and it was still acceptable for like the president could be there while you were touring it,
right?
And so he just kind of walked out and said hi to the tour, and
and now we have to.
And now it's like you have to jump through hoops to call your senator 6 months in advance to schedule maybe schedule a tour at the White House, depending on if things, if all the stars align and Mercury's not in retrograde, you can get in.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with the Capitol too. I mean, you have to jump through all those hoops to even go on the inside, and then there's certain parts of the Capitol that even like congressmen and senators that have been there forever could not even get a tour of.
No one can go inside the dome of the Capitol. The big thing, the most picturesque part. I actually got some really cool pictures of it that I'll probably throw up outside. That'll throw up on the socials. Like, and you can get. There are daily tours of like the Capitol Rotunda and stuff, but they book up fast. Like, I should have planned ahead for that, because there was no chance of us getting in there, because they obviously do short tours regularly, and then there's also like you can take the secret tunnel between the Capitol and the Library of Congress, which would have been fun to take, but that's but getting back to our tour, we kind of learned a lot of little things about the Capitol we didn't know about, things deep underground there, how there's a bunch of storage levels down on that, and how
lots of ghost stuff. There's like a blood stain that's on like the steps on the house side of the Capitol.
For the press area.
Yeah, there's like this whole big story about.
But it was a little embellished, because yes, there are blood stains on the steps, but the way it was told made it sound like there was like a pool of blood stain on there, but it's actually just like a few spots that could be
bigger. So they're like, if you think of like. This sounds really gross. Like, if you think of someone getting literally shot in the chest and laying face down, or not face down, but like back down, and you see like the blood go like seeping so fast, like, no, it literally looked like someone maybe had a really bad nosebleed on there, and that was kind of it.
Like they cut their arm out. Like, it didn't look that bad. It was just little. It was like 4 random brown stains on the steps.
But apparently the ghost keeps it from getting cleaned away, because apparently they tried everything to get
but it's probably going. But that's one thing I liked about the tour guide. It was like she put logic to it, and then the ghost and everything. It was like, logically it could be that just a very porous marble, and it's not going to come out. It's always going to be a hint of stain there, but we like to think it's ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And like learning about how the black cat in the Capitol that predicts national tragedy.
Yeah.
This black omen cat, like, if you see it, like, 'cause I guess the whole story was...
No, it's a demon cat.
Demon cat. Like, the Capitol was at one point overrun with mice because, like any big wooden city, like, mice are going to infest it, or you're going to have a rodent problem. So they decided to bring in cats, and then after that, then cats just kind of roamed DC for that. And I guess the story was this one black cat that people see at night, and it usually comes within a few days of a national tragedy.
Well, and it's not just like any cat. It literally, like, according to some people, it's like it starts off like a normal cat, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's like this monstrosity of like I don't even know, like, bigger than any big cat at a zoo or whatever, and it's just like...
And then it jumps at you.
It
Sees you as a target, and then it disappears, and you don't see it. And then usually, like, a day or two later, some kind of natural tragedy. I think it predicted...
The only two things that it didn't predict, they said it was not around during 9/11 and something else, but it's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, like it predicted
through different times.
Did it say like it predicted like the 08 stock market issue?
The
housing crash.
Yeah, the housing crash.
Pearl Harbor. No, was it Pearl
Harbor? That wasn't Pearl Harbor. It was like something that had to do with World War II and some other random things.
But it was interesting, and like someone asked a question like, well, is it possible that like, the cat was around but no one was there to see it? And they just said it was possible, but it's one of those things, like, you gotta take a lot of these ghost stories with a grain of salt. A lot of it, I like the history side of things more than usually the ghost stuff, but it's still kind of fun to hear some of this and actually get up close and personal with some of these places, like sitting on the steps of the Supreme Court and sitting out in front of the Library of Congress and like places like you don't like. I never really realized like that literally in the back, like behind the Capitol, is where the Library of Congress and the Supreme Court are. I guess I always thought they were somewhere else, so it's kind of interesting to see like that, or how the Supreme Court used to be the old Capitol jail. No. Yes,
kind of.
So like that's where like because it used to be a building, they just made it a jail because they had no place to put people and.
Yeah,
and like that's also like they hung the people who assassinated Lincoln.
It was the conspiracy, like, because I guess it wasn't just that John Wilkes Booth; there was multiple people that went and planned it, and so they all kind of suffered. And
it's where they executed the first woman which is interesting, and it was
because she was a part of that conspiracy,
right?
Wasn't it?
She owned the boarding house and they found out that she really was involved with it. It wasn't like she didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Neat things you learn through this whole thing.
Yeah. So enough about us rambling about DC, because it's time for bed.
It's time for... Liz is tired.
I'm tired.
So, just a quick wrap up. So, like we talked about, like originally this was holding about traveling and vacation and stuff.
It's mostly like a DC for Squares type deal.
It evolved into our DC adventure.
DC for Squares.
But before we wrap up, we really got to talk about like the worst part of our travel, which was
flying United.
Well, and it wasn't like
it
wasn't their fault. And like they made it worse, but it wasn't their fault.
I mean, most of it was not their fault, but definitely United could have done things to ease the pain of a long delay.
So, like, we were flying back on Labor Day, on Monday, whatever, September 3rd, whatever day that was. And we had a normal flight out of Baltimore. It was like a 5 o'clock flight or something, 5:15.
Supposed to be.
So, we get back, I think it was, 2 o'clock?
Yeah, I think we
just shy of 2 o'clock. We returned our car to the shuttle to security because everything was still business as usual. We saw the National Zoo during the day and then drove into Baltimore to the airport and did all that. So we returned our car, went through security, and by the time we got past the security gate, lo and behold, our flight was delayed from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And we're like, oh.
And I was pissed.
Because usually before they'll delay a flight, they'll send you a text or contact you and be like, hey, the flight's delayed. Like, if we would have known that half hour earlier, we would have still had the rental car and could be like, oh, I guess we can go bum around Baltimore for a few hours, then come back.
Or called your aunt and said, hey, we've got some time, let's
get together
over there.
Yeah, but no, we were stuck in an airport for 5 hours.
And
then became 6 hours.
Yeah. And what do you do when you've got nothing to do? Go to a bar and drink.
Yeah, so we found a bar. Like we roamed to see like what we could find. We found this bar called the Green Turtle, which is a neat little bar. It's they're also very pro conservation and recycling and all that. So
yes, and what does that mean? Well, it means you get paper straws that suck.
Yeah, they were the best paper straws I've used.
Yeah.
They had more staying power than most paper straws I've used in other places.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing that sucked is I just can't deal with the squishy paper. It reminds me of like a spitball.
Yeah, but so we ended up hanging out there and making friends with another guy who was in the same boat as us, and then waiting for our flight and going to sit there, and then found out the flight we were able to board at a certain time, but then we weren't able to take off for another like half hour, 45 minutes.
And then when we got there, we had to wait because, guess what? The gate you're supposed to be on, the plane it hasn't left. The plane before you hasn't left. Wait there for 30 minutes. Oh, just kidding. We're going to find a different gate.
I'm talking about when we landed in O'Hare.
Yeah.
Well, that was because what a lot of people who live in the Midwest know, like, the Chicago area, like the northwest area of Chicago, got hit with massive rain all weekend when we were away. Mm-hmm. And it involved O'Hare actually flooded partially. Like, runways were pretty wet. Water was seeping into O'Hare, into the basements and all that. Like, all the flights going into O'Hare were delayed. So, like, when we got to O'Hare, there was a queue of planes getting there. And then once we got to there was a mess of getting to our baggage claim and then getting our bag. And then shuttles were a mess because everyone got into the O'Hare at, like, the same time.
And there was a rush hour at 11 o'clock at night, which, like, never happens.
Yeah, like, there was literally, like, felt like it was, like, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock traffic trying to leave the airport.
So, in essence, when we left, would probably been the same amount of traffic as if we would have gotten there at 6 o'clock.
When we should
versus when we were supposed to get there rather than at 11 o'clock.
But we made it home, and then
I was dead.
And then we've still been recouping. Mm-hmm. But that's our fun. I'm sorry, the cat's trying to eat the microphone. Bad cat. But I think that'll do it for Adulting Easy. We've talked for a bit. We've rambled for a bit. We're both tired. Liz is going to fall asleep in the next 3 minutes.
Hooray!
So I think that'll do it for this week. I am Andrew.
I'm Liz. This is DC for Squares.
DC for Squares. No, it's not. This is Adulting Ain't Easy. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, guys.
Ciao.